This episode was brought to you by slateblackindustries. For M-LOK grips and accessories, visit slateblackindustries.com.
Hey everyone, it's Ivan, kitbadger.com, here today to tell you some of the pretty cool features of, honestly, one of the most iconic weapons in recent memory, which is the Honey Badger by Q. Lots of damn it. Hey man, what's up? No, I'm just filming a video. Yeah man, I'll take a look. Dude, what the
Light, small, compact, suppressible, and engages targets out to 300 meters. No adjustments or part swaps for super and subsonic cartridge swap outs. Introducing the Dirt Squirrel, the Walmart brand of the Honey Badger. The Dirt Squirrel is a straight up 2% skim milk ripoff of the Honey Badger by Q. We don't hide it. But what exactly is the Honey Badger? We asked Q aficionado Ivan from kitbadger.com to explain.
This ultimately started as a conversation in a hallway. Unit over at SOCOM was like, hey, we need something to replace the MP5 SD, something that is going to, one, hit harder than 9mm, and in addition to that, create capability of reaching out further than that 9mm. So from that conversation, the Honey Badger, to include 300 Blackout, was born. So big picture, what they ended up receiving was essentially a little weapon that you could easily deploy, turn into a shoulderable weapon, get really good shots on target with a round that will do significant damage and at the same time be really quiet in a confined space, say a building or something like that. But then, should you have to remove yourself from whatever CQB environment, get off the X, and run into engagement outside of that, you could easily throw supersonic loads in there and reach out a significant distance, especially when compared to the MP5 SD, which was previously run.
However, the Honey Badger was never officially adopted for military use. Its fame came from the widespread use in the digital battlefields of Call of Duty, which is incidentally where Josh and I have the most combat experience with the Honey Badger. So now this brings us to the Dirt Squirrel. It fulfills the original requirements of the Honey Badger, whereas it's quietly suppressible, compact for CQB operations, and you can switch it out to supersonic to engage targets more like a rifle than a 9mm subgun. We used a Palmetto State Armory 300 Blackout upper with an 8-inch cold hammer forged FN barrel and swapped out the handguard for a mid-length Midwest Industries M-LOK handguard that could nestle our suppressor or a flash can, depending on which one you would prefer to shoot. Now, the intermediate cartridge is not a new thing, but using supersonic loads like a rifle and then subsonic loads like a pistol as a 300 Blackout intends to be used, now that is a new concept. We used a lower that I had laying around, purchased 15 years ago, back when I thought law enforcement engravings were cool, and used an SP Tactical PDW brace. Looks really cool, but collapses the same length as an M4 stock. So the only positive thing to this is that it could expand to a not a stock without clicking any buttons, and of course it looks cool. Now once again, the Dirt Squirrel is absolutely not just as good as the Honey Badger. Our objective was to put something together that fulfills many of the Honey Badger requirements at a low price, so it was intended to be the best bang for the buck. Since 300 Blackout in such a short barrel is really a 300-meter firearm, the non-magnified Cyclops works well while staying under budget. The Dirt Squirrel puts out acceptable accuracy, but one could see a massive difference between the super and subsonic loads. At 100 yards, the Dirt Squirrel put a 2.95 MOA group on the target with Black Hills 300 Blackout supersonic ammunition, and 4.1 MOA group with SIG 300 Blackout subsonic. An interesting observation is that subsonics impacted 8 inches lower than the point of aim, and nearly 80% of these impacts actually grouped inside a 0.9 MOA circle. When shooting subsonic ammunition, the small package honestly felt more like shooting a pistol caliber subgun.
The subs make it really easy to shoot very fast. It's almost like shooting a 9mm. Like it feels more akin to shooting a PCC than it does to shooting a 5.56 gun. Quite a bit different than the subs. Let's go take a look. So check it out, right? Mostly center mass grouping. The recoil was way more violent than with the subsonics. The reason that you're seeing mostly center mass here is because the dot dispersion, or the movement of where I was tracking the center of the reticle, was so severe. I knew that if I just ripped as fast as I could rip, I would have come up well off the target and definitely not been able to control it the way I wanted to. So slowed down just a tad, drove the reticle back down as much as possible, really tried to use my body to fight it back down, was able to utilize kind of the traction provided by the grip panels and the slate stop to really get the rifle back down, and ultimately there is a mostly A-zone target. Now again, if I ripped this as fast as I could do it without fighting the recoil and without allowing myself to track the reticle, it would be well worse than what we saw in the subsonic group, where I basically just ripped it and didn't focus so much on correction.
Now this setup had initial issues that Palmetto State had remedied. The original bolt carrier group, although had a properly staked gas key, it was short stroking. We suspect that this may have been a leaky gas key, but after contacting Palmetto State, they sent us a new one right away and had a decent lifetime warranty on parts. While the concept of a firearm is a compact and fast to deploy weapon system that is more lethal than a 9mm submachine gun, we saw a definitive drop-off point in the trajectory at the 400-yard mark. Now we've had a hard time concluding this episode, so let's just stick to the facts. The Honey Badger concept of a 300 blackout short firearm further bridges the gap between the submachine gun and the SBR. Is the Dirt Squirrel just as good? No. The Honey Badger has a lot more proprietary design characteristics that sets it apart from a normal AR-15 build. That said, we cannot look past the fact that the Dirt Squirrel does fulfill some major requirements, where it's quietly suppressible, compact for CQB operations, and can actually reach out. Furthermore, the entire point of a 300 blackout is to directly drop onto a 5.56 slower and exceed the 9mm submachine gun's performance, with a suppressible subsonic capability. And ever since swapping in the Palmetto State bolt carrier group replacement, we haven't had to swap any internal parts, whether running supersonic or subsonic, and haven't received any malfunctions. So what do you think about this concept? We'd like to give a huge shout out to Ivan for lending us his content. Now if you like a dry, sarcastic humor, beautiful scenery, and training insights, or just hearing some marine and contractor war stories from a friend who's been there and done that, consider looking up Kit Badger on YouTube. And that's all we have for this episode. Take care, and we'll see you on the range.
You know, Cheyenne, there is such a device called a doorbell out there, and it decreases your chances of getting shot coming in here. I've been having trouble with this whole Patreon messaging thing. I mean, what would you say to guys who are on the fence with Patreon?
Just do it!
I usually try to be a little more chill on the show.
Some people dream of success while you're gonna wake up and work hard at it. Nothing is impossible.
Okay.
You should get
Right.
to the point where anyone else would quit, and you're not gonna stop there.
Okay, I will take that under consideration. Well, what would you say if you were asking someone to join your Patreon account because you're providing quality content?
Just do it!
Okay.
Yes, you can!
Why do we
Just do it!
Look, you're in charge of marketing. Just yelling in people's faces isn't going to convey the
Yesterday, you said tomorrow. So just do it! Make your dreams come true! Just do it!
You're going to continue stretching your crotch in my house? Is that okay? That's what you're going to do?
716 is Steel Knight 6, 4 Vic, 8 packs, red con 1, green to green. How copy, over?
Steel Knight 6, this is 716, roger, over. 16, Steel Knight 1, 1 pack,